is a good player of the clarinet.
Wow.
So they'll just abuse that.
That makes
now.
you a polymath, Robert.
Does it?
Yeah.
Really?
Don't say that.
No.
Don't make it. Welcome to Cloud Realities, an original podcast from Capgemini. And this week, a conversation show about the digital skills gap. It starts with children and goes all the way into late careers, and it's been something we've been wrestling with for decades now. We're going to hear from AWS about something going on in the UK with the UK government about trying to address that skills gap. I'm Dave Chapman.
I'm Esmee van der Giessen.
And I'm Rob Kernahan.
And joining us today to talk about what we're doing is Mike Nayler, who's the Director of National Security, Defence and Public Safety at AWS. Mike, hiya, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure, thanks for making a bit of time for this. Robert, how are you doing?
I'm all right, David.
You good?
Living the dream. Living the dream. That's
dream.
it. Yeah.
Esmee,
Yeah.
you all right?
Yes.
You all set to go?
Yes, ready. Yeah, I'm excited. Skills, learning. I love the topic.
It's that you love the human.
Yep, the
Don't
human
you?
part.
Anything
yeah.
to do with humans.
Yeah, I like the digital as well, but
digital.
I'd rather talk about human, yeah.
You're not cold and transactional like me.
But you're a level 4 architect.
What do you expect? Autocratic, I'd say.
Yes.
Autocratic
Oh.
systems for the win.
Maybe a bit ivory tower?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, what we worked out was we need an ivory tower elevation. So there's an ivory tower over the ivory tower.
But I think
Layered ivory towers.
Single ivory tower is not good enough for enterprise architecture these days.
It's like,
You build an ivory tower on top of the existing ivory tower.
you
That's
got level
level
this
5.
Would you like to share with us, Robert, while we're on this subject,
Yeah.
the results of a recent Gartner survey into the pros and cons of enterprise architecture?
It wasn't kind, David. Let's be honest. It didn't go well for architects. Essentially, they did a blind response, so completely anonymous.
Yeah.
Asked the CEO what they thought about enterprise architects.
Brace yourself, Mike. This is rough. Even if you're not an enterprise architect, this is going to make you wince.
This hurts.
Oh no.
There was a couple of the obvious ones: superfluous, high friction. There was a couple of crackers
High
like
friction.
high friction. There was a good one which was funding black hole. I really like that. The police, the enterprise police. It went on, and right in the middle was autocracy.
It was like a word cloud.
It was like a word
Fantastic.
cloud they presented. You go, and you just sort of think maybe we should, as a community, manage upwards better.
Yeah, I think you need a new.
Or-
I think you need a new mission statement.
Yeah.
You know, when like things that have gone wrong try to rebrand themselves as something like maybe like a sun as the logo or something.
Something bright and cheery.
Yeah, something cheery,
Be cheery about enterprise architects.
Or it could be like a little cartoon man helping someone else.
So you know I'm a great fan of Jules Verne, but the Morlocks and the Eloy,
Yeah.
we're the Morlocks, a necessary evil. That's the way I always like to.
That's a necessary evil.
Necessary
It's
evil.
like
Enterprise
a
architects
driving
as a
transformation
necessary
with a
evil.
necessary evil.
I like it. Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, what else is confusing you, mate?
So we're going to be talking about skills today.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd bring up the conundrum that is, or the confusion around the prompt engineer.
Oh, as a discipline.
So a year and a half ago, 2
Yeah.
years, we didn't recruit
Yes,
prompt
yes.
engineers.
Yes,
Now
yes,
we
yes.
have prompt engineers. AI is replacing the prompt engineer. It could be one of the shortest lived disciplines we've ever had. It rose and fall in like a 2-3 year cycle.
So let's do two things before we dig into this. First of all, what's a prompt engineer? And second of all, how is AI now replacing the prompt engineer?
A prompt engineer, for those who want the explanation, is essentially somebody who is very good at optimizing the request to the AI to get the best answer out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you put rubbish into an AI engine, it'll give you a suboptimal response. You can write a prompt that's 2 pages long and you get these incredible, very vivid, very powerful responses out of it. So it's a skill. So we all want prompt engineers.
Is that the sort of thing that if you want a picture, say, of Marcel with a beard,
Yeah,
that you sent us all on WhatsApp? Marcel
Well-
doesn't have a beard.
So I would.
He did a picture with a beard.
I know.
Is that
it was
what
it was
you're talking about?
traumatizing. Well, so it's a bit more complicated than that. But if you're getting AI to say create a report that might be 50, 60 pages long, you need to give it a very good instruction. Now, what's happened is the clever engineers have actually got prompts to train you
Prompt
and
prompts.
build prompts for you. So I prompt a prompt to build a prompt type thing. And so...
I've lost it. This is where the enterprise architect is losing people.
No.
I think
This is where it happens.
See, this makes sense to them.
Yeah.
This makes sense to them.
Superfluous to this. Right, no, but the idea is there's now an AI to build the prompt for me
Yeah.
that I have a conversation with, and it writes the 2 pages, and off you go. So the prompt engineer's role is no longer needed because AI will build me an agentic prompt engineer.
Any comments on that, Mike?
Unpick that.
I don't know exactly how to respond to that.
No,
one.
That's why I'm confused. That's the
but no,
confusion, you
we're all in
see.
the same place.
I can see it though, and I think it's actually quite an interesting use case because how does AI replace the job that you built the AI to
Yeah.
do? This is great.
Within a 12-month cycle.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. But I've tried it. So I've tried asking the AI what I should ask the AI to get the best outcome.
And now,
Right.
what was your experience on that?
Pretty poor, to be fair.
No.
Actually, no.
Are prompt engineers safe for a while? Then maybe that's the.
I think there is
I'll give it 12
there's still
months.
an element of art rather than science in it. So yeah.
It is also AI's prompting other AIs. What you thinking on that?
So there's a lot of work going into. It will be a lot of little things interacting that will create the better outcome than big models. Yeah.
You know what I think this needs? An
Bottle of
architecture.
wine. Oh,
No, both.
Wine and some.
Bottle of wine and architecture.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be your
Maybe
new slogan.
Maybe that's how we get the C-suite to like enterprise architects. Every meeting involves like wine and canapes and stuff, and then they'll want to talk to us more. That's the answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to take that back to Enterprise HQ, Enterprise Architecture HQ.
I think
This is the modern version of bringing a packet of biscuits to a meeting.
exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
literally canapes.
Canapes and
Well,
wine.
you would expect the architect to make it overly complicated and more expensive, which is what I've just done.
Well, I don't think we got to the bottom of the AI prompt engineer confusion, but I think we've fixed the EA reputational issue.
Yeah, I think we. Well,
I think you've got a path forward there. You could be a pioneer in this.
A pioneering EA.
Yes.
Ooh, don't know about that.
Come on, I think you
I
can
need
do
to
it.
consult the other EAs to make sure we have a confusing consensus of messages.
You could trek back up the ivory tower of a meeting at the top.
We'll get back to you in 18 months on an answer on that, Dave. There's a lot of governance we have to go through as we construct that response.
But by which time the AI will have done it anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly. And in the meantime, let's fix the digital skills gap because I think that'll probably happen faster than what he's talking about.
I agree.
And on that note, let's pivot into the world of digital skills. So, Mike, let's just start with a portrait of the skills gap issue.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's been around for a long time. I'm relatively new into the IT sector. I'm only 7 or 8 years into my career, but it feels like it's gone back a bit further than that. So set out for us, like, how are you holding it at the moment?
Yeah, so I think the digital skills level that we see today in the general population is incredibly high. And they very often don't even realize it.
Right.
They're carrying a very complex computer around in their pockets. It is giving them generative AI. It's giving them all sorts of capabilities. And they're just using it because it's doing the things they need to do. It's telling them where to be and where to go and how to do things. What we're lacking, though, particularly across the public sector, is digital skills that are focused on mission outcomes. So really, how do we apply those skills? How do we apply that in a mission sense? And that's something that I think we're really keen to continue to develop.
Right. And if you look at a digital skills issue, it's not as simple, is it? Or maybe it is that, I could retrain. So I could retrain by just going onto the Amazon website and doing a few courses and then say convert my career. It goes back further than that, doesn't it? You have to think about it almost from a school's pipeline perspective.
Yeah, very much so. So I think, whilst I would advocate to anybody to go onto the Amazon website, of course,
naturally.
You should always do that.
Yeah. I'm on Amazon.com the whole time. Is that the same thing?
Oh, thank you for your business.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really important that people continue to learn. Actually, at Amazon Week, one of our leadership principles is to learn and be curious. And that's something we advocate for everybody.
Right.
But I think if we are really setting a foundation for the future growth of the UK, today, then we have to start early. We have to bring those digital skills in from primary school, really, right the way through. And so making sure that our education and academia are keeping up with the pace of technology and the pace of the kind of skills that we need in industry and in public sector.
And if you look at like the average school curriculum,
yeah,
there is computing you can elect as an option, but they don't actually teach basic digital skills, understanding of how things work. So you sort of go, well, I mean, that's when you have to catch them. It doesn't have to be a massive curriculum or anything else, but interventions that explain what it is. So you can be secure, you understand how to use it, you can interact with it. It's just nothing in the schooling system.
It's interesting because, like, back when I was at uni in the late
1948. yeah.
Just as university.
I caught you earlier.
7-year
career, Pinocchio. Yeah. I'm on you.
I'm really throwing up a smokescreen about age here, but
it's worked.
In the late 80s, they started like IT degrees, which sort of mirrored computer science degrees. And in my mind, one side of it was like the slightly more academic, technical side of technology, and the other side of it was more like applied technology. And that just seems to have somehow not developed.
This is very interesting. In the 60s and 70s, academia controlled computing. In the 80s and 90s, enterprise controlled computing. And now consumerism controls computing.
This is a hot take.
Really good.
This is a hot take from Rob.
So what you've got is you've lost that academic sense around technology. It's being driven by market forces,
right?
Capitalism, etc. Blah. There's lots of money in it. It's integrated in, right? So we've probably, because we've lost that, it's not maybe in the education mindset.
See, good luck with that, Mike.
I'm not entirely sure how to respond to that one, but
I think that point of and I think it jumped off where you were, which was, is academia prepping people correctly, whether it be the academic route and the technical route of technology, or the application of technology?
Well, I think these days it's a basic life skill, and that's something that traditionally early academic career, from the very youngest age, has been hard to get a grasp of. That just, it's a life skill. You can't do your banking these days unless you're doing it on an app and doing it through technology. Everything we do is driven now through technology. So, as I say, a basic life skill. But I think what we're looking for, though, as we develop is, and that's the thing, technology is changing at such a rapid pace. And businesses and government is trying desperately to keep up with that. And the skills gap is one of the things that is holding them back.
Right.
But schools and colleges and education needs to keep up with that pace.
And how have you guys been quantifying what the gap looks like? Have you done an exercise that says, I don't know, N million people or something like that? How does it quantify for you?
What we've really said is we think we can help by supporting the development of skills into education. We're offering, as you rightly said, through the website, people can jump on there, access a whole range of courses.
Extremely
never been more accessible to information to learn.
Yeah,
I mean, it's at there, but it's just not being. How are we not pushing more people towards it?
Yeah, and what you get, of course, is you get those people who are self-starting, are prepared to do it, will get on there and they'll learn and they'll develop new skills. What we really need to do is make sure that our children are getting that at an early enough age, I think, to bring them through.
And there's basic, sorry, just to go to the point, but there's basic risk around this, which is not having a good understanding of cyber and phishing and all that sort of stuff. It has a material impact on the human if they get
Well, it has
attacked.
It has individual and human impacts.
It could be very serious as well.
To your
serious
point about life skills that exists at the individual's level. Then you have got the commercial impact, organizations not being able to staff up appropriately with the right capability, particularly as the rate of technical innovation is constantly increasing and will not stop over the foreseeable decades. But then you've got the national level, particularly in a world where things like sovereign technologies are becoming important.
Yes.
Yeah, you need the skills in your geo-local, don't you, to be able to be able to serve a supply chain effectively. Yeah.
Exactly, especially if you need to then develop local technologies.
Yeah, and that's where I think, as we touched on, I think that's where we really need to be bringing through local colleges, local schools, to engage with their local industry, to engage with government in their local areas, so that those skills are coming through for the whole population, for that whole area. Yeah.
And we're also not, I know we're talking about education a lot, but there's also the elderly and people with disabilities. There's entire groups that are still left out.
Totally, yeah.
Like
and
my mom and dad, like who's gonna
and they stare at this impenetrable wall, and you sort of think governments are working very hard to digitally enable everything and all the services.
Yeah.
And is there an exclusionary part here which says that actually you can't get hold of what you need, or you're missing out because you didn't realise that's the way to go do it?
Are you working on inclusiveness? Like, how can you actually make it available for?
Yeah, very, very much so, and particularly, although we have graduate schemes, we look at young people coming out of university. What we also do is focus very, very much on higher education and lower levels of education, because we need people across the workforce. So it's great to recruit really highly skilled graduates, but it is also really important that we have that ubiquitous understanding. We bring the level up across the whole population.
It's a conversation we had recently, which was, if I cross-train somebody from a different industry, they have empathy with that industry, and then delivering digital solutions back to them are better because they've lived in that world and now they live in this world, and I understand the empathy between the two. So there is a value to cross-training. As much as you can send somebody straight through the education system and they can do AI, there's this other thing about cross-training over actually might have a better experience at the end of it.
That's true, and I think it's not just about the technology. It's about having adaptability, the ability to change, the ability to move with the times much more rapidly than we ever have done in the past. Resilience is often called out as one of the things that we worry about in a younger generation. It's not their ability to learn. These kids, young people today are far brighter, far more clever than we ever were 50 years ago.
He's got you there, Dave. He's got you there.
If only I was there, Mike.
But
I've read books about it. Yeah.
But it's that adaptability, that resilience that I think we're generally all concerned about more than the technical skill itself.
How do you do that? How do you train on resilience?
That's a great question. I wish I had a great answer.
That's why we have her on the pod. Me and Dave are rubbish. He says you asked all the insightful questions.
This was my 1 minute of fame.
I think my answer is that I think it's through challenge. We have to challenge people. We have to give them challenges that they can rise to. If we, the old adage about if we've taken competition away from schools and sport and those sorts of things, actually the more we deliver those things gives people challenge.
Yeah, the softening in younger years, I'm not sure is healthy, is it? Is it? What do you think about that?
It's a hotly debated point.
Yes.
Everyone gets a medal for participating type.
Yes. What do we think about that?
Well,
I can tell where you stand on this, right?
I'm going to be, you often accuse me of being like Switzerland.
I do.
I'm going to elect to be like Switzerland at this exact moment.
I think we know where Rob is on this.
Well, I think you build resilience by having to experience disappointment, losing a game, and it's not all about winning, and being okay with that is being okay with life. It's you can't.
Are we not prepped for disappointment early enough? And then actually, when it does occur, we're in trouble.
The newer generation, I think.
And if you come into, I think if you come into the business world, Amazon prides itself on its culture of innovation. Our whole role and our whole success has been built on enabling people to innovate. Now, what that means is we're prepared and expect them to get it wrong. It is they fail, but fail fast and fail and learn from the failure. If you learn from the failure, your next thing is going to be a huge success.
And that's something that's been very distinct in your culture. Prepare the builders. It's always about the builders, isn't it?
Yeah.
And and you've struck very firm to those roots. And it's basically, I have the capability that you provide, and then I can go do great things.
And but you have to empower people to fail.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they fail, you criticize them or you throw them out, or you make it a problem, then they won't try again.
It needs to be safe.
And that's back to that resilience point.
You need to spend 24 hours with Dave for you to understand failure very well. Then
we've got quite some resilience because of Dave.
Because of Dave, he's built me up to be highly resilient.
Think that I'm helping close the skills gap down.
I'm starting to catch on to the dynamics of this. Okay.
But let's talk about other programs that are trying to address the skills gap, and let's talk about Tech First. So I believe that you guys are getting involved in a UK government initiative around that.
That's right. So Tech First is a fantastic initiative, and we're really leaning in to really support the development of digital skills in particular across government. Actually, yesterday I was really privileged to sign a memorandum of understanding with the MOD on their digital skills program and how we can lean in and support them as a part of that broader tech skills program. And I think that's where it's important for companies like ours, big digital companies, to really give back into the broader public sector and government and make sure that we are developing those skills, because what we're looking for is people who can have much more permeable careers. They could go from private sector to public sector and back again without being penalised.
Right. It's good. It's a sort of circular thing. So if you're investing in the skills and training, what that creates is better skills for you to be able to build the business that you're in as well, which is providing compute and great services. So it's that sort of feedback loop, isn't it? You're trying to get the energy into it. That's quite important. It does feel like maybe some have lost that momentum, and now we're coming out of a lull.
A couple of stats as well about Tech First is it's a £187 million initiative, which is targeting 7.5 million UK workers to gain essential AI skills by 2030.
Yeah, and I think that you've touched on AI for the first time there, and I think that's really important as well. Is since the first computer, people have been worried about the next generation of technology will get rid of people's jobs. Right. People will lose the jobs because some new technology has come along. What we've seen in since the first computer came out, there's no reason for us to fear generative AI or AI ML as something that's all of a sudden going to take away everybody's jobs.
Right.
But it is a defining moment that has shown the sheer pace of the change of technology.
Yeah.
And I find that incredible. We have these amazing tools, as I said, in our pockets. These mobile phones now, whichever flavour you choose, is driven with AI in the background. And I think it's just amazing that we're seeing that, as I say, pace accelerate almost daily. And what we have to have is a workforce that are able to adapt and change at that pace.
I would probably have made this argument for cloud were we having this conversation even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's more acute with AI now and the need for not only organizations to build commercial knowledge around AI and how it might get used, but it's important for nation states to build that capability, isn't it?
Very much so. As we know, to stay competitive, then absolutely we need to be there. And it means we may have to make some decisions.
And you take the point about cloud, Dave, but the AI one is even a bigger conundrum because cloud never introduced ethical issues into the situation and moral issues, whereas AI represents a sort of, we need a conversation in society about what is it we want to be and what is it we're going to do. So, and then where do we direct the investment? Because we've got hard choices to make. So you've got this skills problem, and then it's plus because there's a underlying societal impact which we need to consider.
It is much more profound.
It is, and I think to that point that you made, which was that we've not had a situation like this where technology has presented a moral and social conversation in the same way.
So let's talk about advice, maybe just to wrap up the first part of the conversation. What kind of advice would you give to, I think, two groups? I think the first group would be maybe people who are listening to this, and we're lucky enough to have quite a broad listenership. So maybe listeners that might want to pivot and convert what they're doing on individual level, but also who are the bigger body that you think are accountable for dealing with this problem? Because to me, it doesn't feel like it's just a governmental problem. No. It's good to see AWS leaning in, but it's also not just an AWS scale problem, is it?
No, not at all. And I think answering the second one first, it is the responsibility of business, government, the public sector working together to develop those skills. And that's going to be important for all of us as we move forward. And I think to your point earlier, a rising tide floats all ships. Yeah, everybody will benefit from this. So it doesn't really matter who does the investment, as long as everybody does the investment, if that makes sense. Right. I think for any individual who's listening to this and thinking, quite bizarrely, Mike may have made a good point there, but I'll be surprised if they do. But even if they,
so we've done 150 of these.
No, we're still waiting for our good point.
Clearly, it's getting. I like it. But if they're interested in getting into understanding, these technologies, there is a wealth of information out there. AWS could be a good starting point, but I'm going to speak for the whole technology industry and say we are all looking for those skills. Yeah. But so is government. Yeah. Everybody is looking for those skills. So there's plenty of places to go. Find the right way that you want to learn. Now, whether that be online, in person, through an AI tool, however that might be, find the way that you learn best, and then apply that in a technology way.
Yeah, so we're talking about a gap here. Is the gap maybe bigger between the skills that people already have and the institutions that they actually work in? Because if you continue to focus on developing the skills, but the institutions and organizations themselves do not adapt, isn't that the skill that the system isn't ready to really fully utilize all those digital skills that the individuals have?
Well, I think in the private sector, this is no different to any other generational change of technology. Is some businesses will adopt those things. Some of them will run towards it, and they will be successful. So others will wait to see if it's really the next big thing or not, and they'll fall behind. So it's all about appetite for risk. In private industry, that's easier to quantify because you could drive that to the bottom line and see where those benefits are coming. In the public sector, that's slightly harder to define in a sort of pounds, shillings and pence kind of way. But what I have seen is a general realization across government departments that they do need to stay ahead of the curve. So I'm pretty confident that institutionally they understand they need to do it. Whether they do it quickly enough, I think, is the big question.
Was that if you take the need for change, so to your point, if it was 20, 30 years ago, when you came into industry, you probably saw a pace of change that you're used to.
Yeah.
And then you've grown up, you're now in the leadership echelons of your organization. Are you capable of understanding the impetus to need to go faster? And maybe that's, I sometimes see this, it's not wanting to do it. It's just thinking that you've got more time to do it. And you sort of see certain things rising and you go, do you realize if you don't start to move fast, you might actually be on the zenith of your organization's. So
is the point you're making there that you might be spotting things? You're either spotting them maybe too late, or your response to them is too traditional.
You think you've got
linear.
more time? Yeah. There's this thing that think, I've got time to deal with that because we did this 10 years ago and we took 2-3 years to do it. Now it's like no, you've got 6 months in your industry.
There's definitely a need, I think, to be sort of smaller and almost more viral in your responses to things. So you're not overthinking stuff. You're going, yeah, that looks like it could be right. Look, we should follow that. Not all things might necessarily pay off.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true. And again, it comes back, I mentioned before, at Amazon, we're very lucky. We have this culture of innovation. One of the ways we manifest that is we have this idea of a 2-pizza team.
Yeah.
So we break down every task, every project, every activity,
right.
And if you have a team that's bigger than the ability to feed with 2 pizzas, then your team is too big. So what that does is it drives that agility that I think you were talking about. It is you're then also not expecting the organization writ large to be the innovator, to be the changer. What you do is you give people the empowerment to change at a much lower level in small teams. And for me, that's what drives the pace of change. It drives the thinking around innovating. And to come back to a point you made earlier, I think, is what you really need to do with those teams is make sure you have the diversity across the thinking. So have you got people who are prepared to challenge the norm, prepared to break the mold? Because if you don't break what you're doing today, you won't find the new thing that's successful.
What do you see on a leadership level? Because I absolutely agree on a team level, but what I see a lot these days is a lot of frustration inside the team. They understand the agility part now, but then they come across against all the ceilings and the obstacles and the silos within the company. Do you do something different on a leadership level to help also change structures, maybe even, or organizational structures to get those skills in the right place?
So I think for us, that is easier because we have our core leadership principle is referred to as customer obsession. So rather than being led by some sort of quarterly output that one needs to report on, we are led by what is it the customer needs? What is the mission? You know, the part of the business that I look after, national security and defence, it's easy because we talk about the mission. We talk about our customer's mission, and it's the outcomes that they're trying to get to. So, you know, when that drives your activity, actually change is straightforward.
And in your industry, there's a lot of purpose because you understand what you need to get done. So you can get behind an idea or a concept. I think corporates have sometimes lost their way on what they are. Is there an identity crisis going on? And that, I think, creates the environment you talk about where there's just confusion generally.
If you think about all the partnerships that you need to get everything in place and to continue that continuous learning curve, what would you think is like key but is still missing in those partnerships?
As always, asks really complicated, insightful questions. They're hard to. You're good.
So I think partnerships is one of the most important themes of work that we do right now. And that comes from a real understanding that no one company or no one organization can deliver everything. You know, back in the day when you would go to a company and say, deliver me everything in the stack, right the way through from an application, right the way through to the computer at the back end. And, in my world, now what we're saying is let's find the best athlete to deliver a particular part of that. You know, so actually bringing in partnerships is so important to the way we do our business. We simply couldn't do it without a whole range of great partners. You know, we're working with some of the industry's biggest players in manufacturing, in consulting, in project management, but also in delivering some really niche, innovative tech.
And what is missing?
What is missing?
Or is there not? That's quite maybe a negative. Maybe it's all lovey-dovey.
I don't know about lovey-dovey, but I think it's self-fulfilling. It is you build the partnership you need to achieve the mission outcome you're trying to get to.
So I think for some, understanding that it's partnerships that will allow you to win and allow you to move forward in this very complex world we now face. If you get it, it is very powerful. If you think you can go alone, then I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I reflect, this week I've been working with the Ministry of Defence, that they are changing the way they operate and have identified their need to include industry as part of their ecosystem going forward, far more than they ever have done in the past.
I think though, like the thing I've been distracted with all the way through that conversation is somebody who sat, about 2 feet away from Rob last night and watched him eat a single pizza entirely by himself in about 7 minutes. I'm slightly concerned about the 2 pizza metric as a team sizing thing, because I think it would mean like 1.5 people, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, you just have me, wouldn't you?
That would be a small unit.
I mean, perfectly formed though, David.
And maybe very effective, Rob.
Yeah, maybe.
You have to remember, Dave, that we're talking about an American company, so these are pretty big American pizzas, right?
Very kind of you, Mike. I won't say how big Rob's pizza was.
It was perfectly appropriate for an individual. And we'll leave it at that.
Let's
David.
say that.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you so much for spending some time with us today and sharing your insights.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And now we end every episode of this podcast by asking our guests what they're excited about doing next. That could be something in your personal life, like you've got a great restaurant booked to the weekend, pizza restaurant, although, Rob's got that monopoly. Or it could be something in your professional life, or a little bit of both. So, Mike, what are you excited about doing next?
So I have just enrolled on the Royal College of Defence Studies. So at the age of 55, I've gone back to college.
Amazing.
Wow, cool.
I am now having to write essays. For the next 10 months, I will be working part-time, a couple of days a week here and there at the Royal College, as well as carrying on with my business.
Pretty exciting, that.
Yeah.
What do you get at the end of it? What's the diploma
So we actually, the industrial placements on the course don't get a diploma, but many of the civil servants and military staff and politicians even who are on the course, they come away with a master's. And they
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Are you managing to cover up your use of Gen AI in your essays?
There were some very strict rules about that when we joined. And everyone, of course, immediately tried to work out how to break the rules.
Of course.
The education system is coming up with ever more increasingly faffy ways to try and spot AI. The latest one is you have to, I think we talked about it before, they're monitoring the cursor rate in the document, and it's an engine you have to write into. But then somebody just went, well, I can just get AI to pretend to be a human as it's writing it in, and it's like, this is like
always,
an arms race.
it's just going to be like a Russian doll.
Keep building it up.
Uses of AI.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you would like to discuss any of the issues on this week's show and how they might impact you and your business, please get in touch with us at cloudrealities@capgemini.com. We're all on LinkedIn and on Substack. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to connect and DM if you have any questions for the show to tackle. And of course, please rate and subscribe to our podcast. It really helps us improve the show. A huge thanks to Mike, our sound and editing wizards Ben and Louie, our producer Marcel, and of course to all our listeners. See you in another reality next week.